Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our wonderful, exciting program, which is the third in our series uh, of interviews with female state bar presidents. I'd like to introduce our moderator today, Lauren Kissel. Lauren is an attorney with the firm of Sinus Drimus. Sorry, Lauren, I apologize for
You could just say
mispronouncing your
sinus
firm name.
stramus, that's fine.
Okay. And Lauren is a very respected member of WLAM. She is a region president, and she also is a member of the Historic Preservation Committee. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Lauren.
All right. Thanks, Nicole, and thanks to Jennifer and Lori for being here today. I'm going to briefly introduce both of these women. So we have Jennifer Grieco. She's a shareholder at the law firm of Altior Law. Hopefully, I'm
Right.
saying that right.
Yeah.
Okay. And a past president of the State Bar of Michigan from 2018 to 2019. She was first elected to the State Bar Board of Commissioners in 2011 and then reelected in 2014. During her term, she focused on professionalism and our higher calling as public citizens in service to the community. Following her term, she created the Peak Law movement to, quote, raise the bar by tackling social injustice and equality and launched the Black Law Matters podcast. She currently serves as a board member of the Lakeshore Legal Aid Board of Directors, secretary of the Oakland County Zoological Authority, board member of the Detroit Zoological Society, member of the ACLU Oakland County Lawyers Committee, member of the Committee on Model Civil Jury Instructions, and Attorney Discipline Board panel member. She was also a member of the board of directors of the Oakland County Bar Association and serving as its president from 2010 to 2011. She is a past president of the Women's Bar Association of Oakland County and was an executive board member of the Michigan Trial Lawyers Association. She also served on the State Bar of Michigan Negligence Council, the State Bar of Michigan ADR Council, the ABA Standing Committee on Professionalism, and panelist for the Attorney Discipline Board and chair of the Gambrel Awards Committee. In 2011, she was named a woman in the law by Michigan Lawyers Weekly and was recognized by her peers in the list of top 10 lawyers in Michigan. In 2023 to 2025, top 50 women attorneys in Michigan by Super Lawyers. In 2011 to 2025, top 100 lawyers in Michigan in 2013 to 2025, top 50 business lawyers 2013 to 2018, and top 25 women business lawyers. There are a lot of other distinctions here, but I think we'll stop there as long as that's okay with you, Jennifer. Obviously,
Totally
very
fine.
distinguished.
Yeah, that was more than enough. Thank you.
Okay. We also have Lori Budeweg with us. Lori is an attorney at Nichols, Sachs, Slank, Sendobach, Budeweg, and Solomon PC. She has a solid reputation throughout Michigan and beyond for her strong leadership, strategic thinking, and problem-solving skills. She hones these skills through active participation in multiple high-level legal organizations, mindfulness training, and advanced continuing legal education. Lori began her career in 1990 after graduating from the University of Michigan's Honors College with a double major in economics and Spanish, and then obtained her JD from Wayne State University Law School. After spending 10 years doing a garden variety of litigation in both district and circuit courts, Lori decided to move to her current firm and focus on family law. She has been with NSSS&B since 2001, and as her practice has matured, shifted away from litigation towards serving as a mediator and resolving cases through Michigan's popular collaborative law model. Lori proudly served as the 81st president of the State Bar of Michigan, only the sixth woman to ever have that distinction, president of the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, and president of the Washtenaw County Bar Association. She is also a frequent speaker at Bar Association events across Michigan and has published numerous articles on legal topics. She is the editor of the majority of the firm's blogs on its website. She currently serves on the Public Policy Committee of the State Bar of Michigan and the Legislative Committee of the AAML. Lori has been named one of the top 50 women lawyers in Michigan, super lawyers, for numerous years, and has been named a Michigan super lawyer each year from 2010 to 2025. In 2017, Lori was named a leader in the law by Michigan Lawyers Weekly. She has also received other awards, including the Evelyn Forrest Distinguished Advocate Award for 2018 from the Oakland Women Lawyers Association. She was named Citizen of the Year by the Michigan Council for the Social Studies in recognition of her work on Constitution Day. and she has recently been admitted to the Michigan Lawyers Weekly Hall of Fame. When not practicing law, Lori enjoys yoga, gardening, traveling, Michigan football, and cooking. So, obviously, we have two very distinguished women with here today, and we are excited to continue our series here and ask them a couple questions.
Great,
So,
thank you.
Lori and Jennifer, let's start off with a basic question. How did you get your start in the law? Why did you decide to become a lawyer? I don't know. Jennifer, you want to start first?
Sure. It was actually, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer because in eighth grade I was watching a TV miniseries about the Atlanta child murders and the trial scene. I was captivated by it. And I knew, I mean, I thought being a juror would be the greatest job, but obviously we can't make a career out of that. But I just knew at that moment that I wanted to be in the courtroom. And so then everything I did from that point forward was geared towards being a lawyer. And I was hired at Summer Schwartz as a law clerk and was hired there as a lawyer back in 1997 and just have continued. And even though Atlanta child murders was what captivated me and the trial scene, I decided not to go into the criminal world and joined in civil litigation.
Well, while Jennifer's path started in the eighth grade, mine started in the ninth grade. So I was a late bloomer, Jennifer. I would say in the ninth grade, I noticed a lot of bullying in my school, and it just incensed me. And even though I was only 5 feet tall and a tiny little pipsqueak on the gymnastics team, I felt like I wanted to somehow in my life be able to stand up for the downtrodden, be the crusader for the downtrodden. So that's what kind of piqued my curiosity. And then about being a lawyer. And then, of course, for those of you in my age group, you may remember LA Law, which was a TV series back probably in the really early 90s or late 80s that sort of made it look very appealing to become a lawyer. That didn't hurt either. So plus I'm not great at like science and like you have sort of process of elimination, right? Like what can I do, right? I loved writing, I loved reading. Those both seemed like they would be suitable skill areas for being a lawyer.
Yeah, that's similar to you, Lori. I was always terrible at math, and I always say that's what made me become a lawyer.
Yeah.
So what made you both decide to run for state bar president?
I can start again if you'd like me to. I just felt that I could contribute to the organization. The organization does so much for lawyers and for the community. There were opportunities that I was provided as a younger lawyer to be active, to have leadership, president of the Women's Bar Association, chair of the Oakland County Bar New Lawyers Council, and then president of the OCBA. So personally, I knew that I enjoyed leadership and encouraging lawyers. Part of as you had mentioned, one of my big what I'd like to stress is having members of our legal profession remember that we serve the citizens of the community as public citizens as part of the preamble of the Michigan Rules of Public our professional conduct. So I just felt like I could contribute as Lori was the 84th president, 81st president. I was the 84th, only the seventh woman to serve. I really felt that the numbers needed to improve and that was really important to have two women in the chairs. So that's why I wanted to go into the chairs of being in leadership. And I wanted to see two women at the same time if that was possible and not just one token woman. And as I mentioned to you, Lauren, before we started, at the time that I was deciding to run and get into the chairs as treasurer, I had two Board of Commissioner members come up to me and tell me that I should wait because Lori was already in the chairs. Like we already had the one woman, and for me, I just felt that was didn't sit well with me. After being president of the Oakland County Bar Association, I was only the sixth woman in that organization. I think I was 76 years at that time. I knew how important it was to have women in leadership, and so despite being encouraged to stand down, I decided to put my name in to serve as president.
I'm so glad you did too, Jennifer. And I, kind of had a similar experience that incensed me a little bit, which was somebody saying you should be president because you're a woman. It's
Mm.
like, well, really? You know? So quite frankly, being state bar president was something I struggled to decide to, to run for. I did have, an opponent that, so it was like I had to run. It wasn't like I just automatically, right, got the position. I struggled with it. I had two boys in high school. My younger one was getting ready to graduate. They were both very active in a lot of things. The private practice of laws, as you all know, very taxing and exhausting, and throwing on top of that, duties responsibilities as a mom. I knew from what past presidents had told me, you will be putting in a lot of hours. You will be putting a lot of miles on your car. You will be constantly in a position where you need to be an extrovert when, for me, my personality type is sort of 50-50. I kind of need that half of my time to be introvert. That's why I like gardening. It's a mindfulness time for me. I can be outside and just by myself and with nature, communing with nature and that sort of thing. I can't be on constantly and feel mentally well. So I knew it would be a challenge. On the other hand, I thought, this is not an opportunity that knocks on everybody's door. And to pass this up, my kids are always teasing me, Mom, you have the worst FOMO, fear of missing out. Like you are the worst. We go on trips and I schedule us for way too much stuff, and they're like, we just want to sit, So the FOMO, drove me to, and it was kind of like Mount Everest, right? When people say like it's there, climb it, marathons, it's there, run it. I don't do either of those things, but it was there. So I did it, and I'm really glad I did.
Yeah. Well, we are glad that you both ran as well. I think you both were great state bar presidents and did a great job of building women up in the profession. So we certainly appreciate that. That does kind of lead us to our next question. What would you say any differences that you see in the challenges that women faced in the legal profession when you were state bar president versus things that women deal with today? Do you see things improving? Do you see the challenges being different? Any thoughts on those issues?
Laura, you want to go first?
I mean, I can. I think it's possible. I'm a family lawyer, so I see family dynamics one after another. I have seen since I was bar president 10 years ago, more and more equality in the role of parents, regardless if you're the mother or the father. I think that helps women to, do more volunteer types of things in the profession. Um, but I guess I'm a little bit out of touch in terms of, the differences from then to now. Other than that, I did, if I could, I wanted to tell you just a really two quick stories about early in my career. Being a woman, and everybody's got their faves, right? So one of my faves was I had to go to some, I don't know, rural county to do a pre-trial. This was like my second year of practice, and I got carded by the judge. He wanted to see my bar card because he did not believe I was an attorney. Maybe I just looked really young, but I assumed it was because I was a woman. And the other story was when I was defending a deposition or taking a deposition of a plaintiff. I was representing the insurance company, the defense, back in the day. And I walked into the plaintiff's attorney's office, and they slid the window back, and I had a big briefcase with me. And the female receptionist said, you can set up in the back she thought it was a court reporter. And, just these assumptions, right, that people made based on gender. I don't know if that kind of thing still happens, but hopefully it's changing.
Yeah, I think everybody's got a story like that of not being taken seriously in the role. I'll give a quick story, and then I'll talk a little bit about what I think is different. But my quick story is going to a creditor's exam with another lawyer in my firm, and we had been litigating with counsel, and their client is there as well. And the other opposing lawyer, I'm introduced to him again, and he made the comment, I didn't recognize her with her clothes on, which was really unprofessional, awful, and humiliating, and just was horrible at the time. But he thought it was funny, and luckily for me, the lawyer that I was with from the firm did not think it was funny and attempted to grieve him for the comment. But it was completely and totally inappropriate, and we've all had comments like that. I think that maybe it's what is really great to see, like even on this call, is that Suzanne Larson and Lisa Hameme are on this call, and that there are 3 women in line for presidency for the State Bar of Michigan, and Erica Butler is going to come in after Lisa Hameme. Having 2 in a row just seems like, well, at least in the Bar Association world, we have come far. I could just give you an example of Oakland County Bar Association. There's going to be a woman after woman after woman as president of the OCBA. And again, that was really uncommon when I was the 6th in 2010. So I think that shows that the profession is acknowledging and recognizing that women should be leaders in the profession. Maybe they're used to seeing more women as judges, so it makes sense to have us then also running bar associations. But I think that that's a wonderful improvement from where it was even 10 years ago. But of course, misogyny is still prevalent everywhere today, and it almost seems like it's worse in some areas. So I think we're all dealing with wanting to be taken seriously in our profession.
I will say, as a younger female lawyer who's only been practicing about 8 years, I think it's definitely gotten better. In my experience, I don't think I have those sorts of explicit, overt, sexism that you guys face, but it's definitely still there. It's definitely still implicit in the way that male attorneys deal with us, and I'm grateful for you guys before us who helped make things better for us. Um, can you share some of your career goals leading up to your time as State Bar President, and any sort of goals that you had during your term as State Bar President? Uh, Whichever of you want to take it first.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, my career goals before being State Bar President are probably similar to a lot of the women on this call's career goals. I wanted to be partner in a law firm. I wanted to be able to help run a law firm, not just have decisions handed down to me. So I wanted that kind of leadership in my own practice. I obviously I wanted a book of business. I wanted to be 100% independent. I didn't want to rely on somebody else for business. I wanted to be and continue to strive to be a respected lawyer, a good lawyer. I think that we all, that is always a goal. And, they remain goals of mine. Every year, the year starts out at the beginning of the year, and you're hoping somebody calls you with a case. And it's just like, it's every year, it's the same struggle. And so that will always continue to be a goal. And of course, during my term as State Bar President, I wanted to make a difference for the bar. I wanted to be respected as a leader. I wanted to be seen as a leader in the Bar Association. And then, of course, I wanted to encourage more women to get active in the Bar Association. I wanted to recognize our affinity bar associations and all the work that they did. So those were some of my goals, both in my career and as State Bar President. I think the only change in my goals is that as you get older, as you've been practicing for almost 30 years, you do want to hopefully have the luxury of being able to say no to a case that doesn't align with your values. I think that's really important, to take cases that I think make a difference. And that all comes with developing a reputation, having your own book of business, getting referrals, and then having the ability to say, okay, now in the next, however many more years I'm practicing, if it's 20 years, I want to do things that really matter and not just take every case that comes in the door because I have to. And so that's a luxury that I strive for.
Yeah, same. Ditto everything Jennifer said. I think also for me, one of my career goals, something I've been interested in kind of since day one, is being what I call in the know. Like being in the know with regard to fill in the blank. What are upcoming court rule changes? What are upcoming changes in the rules of evidence? What kind of, I'm a bit of a public policy wonk. I don't like politics, but I really like policy. So, just sort of being able, because I mean, how many times have you read a piece of pending legislation or a pending court rule and said to yourself, who who wrote this? What like they didn't think of this or they weren't aware of that or it just doesn't make much sense to me the way it's written or something's left out. So and I don't kid myself that I'm any sort of amazing, legislative drafter or anything even close there too, but having had boots on the ground for a while, I think sometimes it's helpful to provide that kind of real world input into, pending public policy issues so that they can, be taken into consideration. To that end, right now, I'm actually sitting on a little committee that's working on creating tests for people who want to do a very limited scope of assisting the public on certain legal things. And so, it's interesting. It's a little scary, the whole concept of it. But what's behind it really is the need to, be able to deliver more legal services to a broader spectrum of people who can't afford maybe the Jennifers or, the other folks on this call. But I'm really pleased that I'm able to have some input on that exam to make sure that we've got people who know what they're doing and know how to stay in their lane and what they can't do, that sort of thing. So, yeah, so I'd say I'm still achieving those goals, really.
Well, I think that's great to always have things that you're working towards. In a similar vein, what would you say that your biggest accomplishment during your state bar presidency specifically was? I know you've both talked about a lot of things that you've done throughout your careers and accomplishments that you've had, but specifically, when you went into your presidency, what did you want to accomplish and what do you think that you accomplished?
Well, you want me to start, John? So I think, the year I was president, it was followed very closely on the heels of an extremely concerted effort, not just in Michigan, but nationwide to take down unified bar associations. And Michigan was right square in the center of this endeavor. And so it wasn't like I did anything personally to avert that crisis. It was more, I think, just a an element or a factor of leadership style that kind of helped the bar avoid, being defunded, which is, basically what was happening. The legislature was line iteming out every reference to the creation of the State Bar of Michigan that had to do with dues. If that was passed, we were going to be starved out financially from our existence once we, went through all of our coffers and assets. So, so I was glad that that didn't happen, and I hope it never does because I'm a firm believer in the value of a unified bar.
Agreed. Had a little bit of that during my term because the state bar was sued, and all of the officers were named. And then when I left, Denny Barnes got added to the lawsuit and my name was removed. But the state bar always and has done a great job of fighting back those challenges to the bar. I would say not having that issue as much as Lori did. The one issue that was presented to me and that was I was fortunate to be able to work on was professionalism. There's a professionalism summit at the beginning of my term as president that I, helped to lead and appointed a committee, a special committee to chair, to run the professionalism committee that would work on professionalism principles. That was one of the concepts that came out of the summit, and all of that was really a brainchild of Ed Pappas. So, and all the work that he's done on professionalism over the years. I wrote about that in an article. I spoke about that when I was traveling around the state, about the need for these professionalism principles, really the need to improve professionalism in the state bar and how we treat each other. And then at the end of my term, those professionalism principles were adopted by the Representative Assembly so that they could go on to the state bar, which has issued them as an administrative order. I don't know if enough lawyers know about them or utilizing them in their practice, but they certainly set forth some standards that we would, I guess, all hope that lawyers would abide by in practicing law. I think that that would make the practice of law better for all of us.
Certainly. What do you recommend people do to prepare themselves for this kind of high level bar leadership? Is there anything that you guys did specifically? Is there anything that you would recommend if people want to get involved in the state bar and achieve these sorts of high level leadership positions?
Want me to start, Jennifer?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is kind of in particular to being president of the state bar, and president-elect too, because both of those positions, require just a more time commitment than really any of the other officer positions leading up to it. At least it did when I was president. One of the things that I did that I continued doing afterwards, because I found it to be so valuable, was to hire somebody that I would call a scheduler, somebody who was just in charge of my calendar. And I mean, fortunately, I had other partners that were able to utilize this person as well. So not everybody has those kinds of resources. But this person worked with Marge Bosenberry and others at the state bar to, make sure that I wasn't going to be missing, a friend of the court hearing because I was up in, uh, the Upper Peninsula doing a tour of, the county bar associations up there. So I think hiring a scheduler was a great thing. Making sure I had enough miles on my lease car before well in advance so that I wouldn't end up paying for over mileage. Having a lease car rather than running my own car into the ground. Just some practical things.
It's funny because I bought a new used car too. But we were presidents before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was telling Lauren that everything changed as being state bar president after that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they don't have to drive as much anymore, huh?
I don't know. I know that certainly Denny Barnes, who was, the presidents for those years right after me, COVID made being a bar president different, a lot more Zoom meetings than in person.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Zoom has changed everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would add exactly what Lori's saying about, being those things, those practical things you have to do. I mean, you have to really, in my mind, to get into a position of leadership at this level, you have to have both your work life and your personal life in order. So like you have to be able to take less work. That is definitely, it's going to impact the amount of work you can take. So you have to have partners or associates that you trust to handle matters for you when you're not able to. So that was kind of like the work life. And for me, this was something I did before I went into the Oakland County Bar Association presidency. I switched jobs because I was working at a firm that was very much billable hour was all they cared about. And even though they would like, yeah, it's great that you're, Oakland County Bar President or State Bar President, we'll come sit at the table and, we'll clap. We're not really going to support you in the office as far as giving you less that you're required to have less hours. So for me, going to a smaller firm that I knew would support was 100% supporting that effort. Was the only way I think I could do it. And that was important to me for Oakland County Bar only because my daughter was one. And so like if you were requiring me to put in the hours that everyone else is required to do while I was going to be Oakland County Bar President, my daughter was going to suffer. And I was actually told she will suffer. And so you should quit Oakland County Bar. So as president-elect of the bar, I should quit and not be the sixth woman president because it was going to impact my daughter. That was not an environment for me if I wanted to continue to be in bar leadership. So the change I made was I changed law firms. So that was getting my work life in order and having my partners at my current firm understand that I was going to have less hours, and they said yes, they understood that when I wanted to be treasurer and get into the chairs. You also have to have your home life in order too. I was fortunate that my husband stays at home, so I was able to run around the state and travel and go to ABA meetings with him watching our daughter, and it didn't have an negative impact on her. I will say Lori's comment at the beginning about your sons being teenagers and your decision to be state bar president. I mean, that timing I think is different for everybody on when your children, your child will need you most. It was a good time for me to be state bar president because my daughter was 10, so she wasn't a baby where she needed me right at home, and I wasn't nursing, which unfortunately for OCBA there was some of that. But she wasn't a teenager, and for my daughter and our relationship as a teenage daughter, I couldn't imagine being gone. Like that would be detrimental to her to be gone during these years when, every day could be a traumatic day. You never know. And so I needed, I'm glad that I did that during that time frame when life wasn't as heavy and dramatic as it is now. And so I think getting, having that timing in mind is really important.
It is. I want to tack on to
Please.
that real quick. So Jennifer, I'm, it just amazes me this person said this to you, like about either do the OCBA or or be a mom. I remember when I was pregnant with my first son, who's now 30, and a tax attorney in Texas. There was a partner at my first firm who said to me, you can't be a good mom and a good lawyer. He actually said that to me, and it really stuck with me for so long. And then, this is so full circle. Very sadly, unfortunately, he came down with a terminal illness. And before he passed away, he sent me a letter saying that he remembered saying that to me and that I had proved him wrong.
Wow. That is full circle.
Yeah, that is I just got chills a little bit. That was really cool. And I feel especially I personally appreciate that advice, especially because I am currently pregnant with my first child. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. So it's nice to hear that from other women lawyers, and I'm looking forward to being able to continue my career and learn from others. And I think the practical tips of being able to, balance your home life and your personal life and making sure that you have a firm that supports you. I think those are great things that people maybe don't think about going into bar leadership. So I think that, hearing that from you guys is super helpful. I think this is kind of a similar question, but maybe you have a different thing to say, kind of on the same topic. What do you think is the most important thing or an important thing that women can do to support each other in the legal profession? I mean, we obviously have, challenges that you've talked about, but what can we do to support each other?
Stop competing. We do not need, there are enough challenges to being a lawyer. There's enough challenges with men and how they treat us. There's enough challenges with opposing counsel. There's enough challenges with your work-life balance. There is enough room for more than one woman at the seat of, and maybe I'm saying that because I do believe that, early on in my career, that was a viewpoint that if there was one woman, then that's it. And so we had to compete to be the one woman, and it's not that anymore. And I think we, in supporting each other and pulling each other up and recognizing what it's better to have 5 women on the board and no women on the board, or that we will all do better and all succeed, be happier. There's just so much that women give to other women. And if you don't get that because you're in competition with another woman, I think that that's really a disservice to all of us.
Right. And I think one of the easiest ways to tell yourself that being competitive with other women about positions like bar president, particularly if you're talking about women in your same firm, right? Like my law firm is all women, has always been all women. At one point, we were the largest all woman law firm in the state of Michigan. Um, I think that you have to recognize this is something Julie Firschman told me when I was trying to decide. Julie Firschman's also a past state bar president. When I was trying to decide whether to, go for it or not. And she said, this will be the best marketing decision that you have ever made in your career. And that holds true for every other person in your firm too, whether they're man or woman. You will lift up the entire firm, and even your community, even your larger community, because you've done this work that is, recognized around the state. People know my name around the state that I'm, kind of surprised sometimes. But it's, why compete when what you're doing is actually helping all, everybody else in your realm, I guess, you know.
I think that marketing comment is so spot on. When during my term as state bar president, we lost a partner at our firm and decided to change their name, as opposed to having, just partner names, because we didn't want to change it. Yeah, to have him leave and then add another partner. So that's when we went to Altier Law. And you would think doing that in the middle of a bar year was not a great idea from a marketing standpoint. It was perfect because the name was everywhere, and it helped. It helped everyone, for sure. I think that's a
Yeah.
great point.
Yeah. All right. It looks like we're coming up against the time here, but I want to leave I want to leave some, excuse me, I want to leave a little bit of time for people to ask their own questions, but I think I have one more question for you all that can maybe kind of wrap up our discussion. What was your greatest takeaway from your time as state bar president?
I would say my takeaway was one, it was absolutely doable, and I was glad I did it. Even with a daughter at home and even with a busy practice, it was such an enjoyable experience. Having the ability to travel across the state and meet lawyers all across the state was just a phenomenal opportunity. And all of the lawyers in Michigan, they all are passionate about the law, and they definitely care very much about their career, but they all practice really, really differently. And so that was fascinating to me. It was fascinating to see the lawyers on the west side of the state, or the lawyers in the Thumb, or the lawyers in the UP versus the lawyers in the metro area, or even lawyers in metro area versus lawyers in Ann Arbor. We kind of all have a different community, and all are striving, to do the best for our clients or best for justice, but practice very differently and have very different experiences as lawyers. And so I thought that was really an important I didn't appreciate that, of course, until having done the traveling that we did at that time, and that's really an important issue for the bar. It's great having Suzanne Larson in the chairs because as a bar association, and maybe maybe for WLAM thinking statewide, you really have a wide variety of members that you want to reach out to and provide services to. So that was kind of a huge takeaway for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Jennifer, on all that stuff. It was really eye-opening to meet lawyers from all around the state. You learn a lot and appreciate so much more about the profession as a whole. And I think similarly, not don't underestimate the value of meeting a diverse group of leaders, like on the board of commissioners, even, right? And also the staff of the state bar. There's a very colorful mix of personalities and ideologies that sit around that boardroom table, and sometimes as the president, it's your job to get everybody in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, which requires a lot of one-on-one communication and reaching out. And it really does strengthen your negotiating skills, your ability to settle cases, ability to manage big personalities, that sort of thing. So it's really cool. The stuff I learned as state bar president, I'll never not learn. I can't unlearn it.
But I think that we're talking about the state bar presidency and that level of leadership. But to get to that level, I would suggest that, you just lawyers, especially women lawyers, don't say no to the opportunities to lead at all different levels because I wouldn't have gotten to the state bar if it hadn't been for the Women's Bar Association, being able to run that organization, or being chair of the New Lawyers Committee of the OCBA. I mean, each one of those opportunities helped strengthen my leadership abilities, gave me credibility, gave me confidence to take on the next step. So, and you don't have those opportunities unless you just really don't say no, right? Because each one
Yeah,
led to another that got me to a point where I was, running for state
yeah.
president.
And when you say yes, show up and be prepared.
Right.
Nancy Deal, another past president of the state bar, when I got elected treasurer, she grabbed my arm and she said, "Now the work begins." You got to put in the work.
Well, I
But
think that's great.
I think that we do that though because women have to prove themselves. And so I've always thought every woman who was in front of me was over prepared and excellent. And I'm sure every woman after is the exact same.
I would agree with you. I think that's definitely part of it. I don't know that the men prepare as much as we do, but I think it works out. And I'm grateful to have other women who I can relate to on that issue. Um,
And
so
chance favors the prepared.
I like that. That's great advice to end on. That'll be the end of our like prepared questions here today, but we do have some people on the group. If anyone has any questions, it looks like maybe Christina is trying to raise her hand. Christina, if you want to say your question or put it in the chat.
Yes, thank you so much, Lauren. And comment and a question. Thank you for moderating, Lauren. Great program. It was such an honor to hear from Lori and Jennifer. I apologize, I'm not on camera, but I just wanted to share my brief comment that my love of State Bar interest and leadership came from Lori Buttigieg when I worked in her office while I
Oh,
was in law school. I won't say how many years ago, but some years ago. And she took me to the state bar and she introduced me to folks. And I sat on a board of commissioners meeting and basically was kind of the catalyst for what I was doing then later on in the state bar as a young lawyer and then also with women lawyers. I did not have the pleasure of knowing Jennifer at that time, but I got to know her as a newer attorney in the Oakland area and talk about full circle. Both these amazing women inspired me even when I didn't know I was being inspired and has really helped shape shape my career and interest in the extracurricular side, the leadership side. So a heart full of gratitude for sure. And so now my question is, as someone who now works with new lawyers, particularly women in law and with law students, what is a particular piece of advice that I can share with them so that that interest is sparked early on, so that seed is planted, and that we make sure we water that seed appropriately as they go through their careers?
Good
For
question.
law students. Is that what you're saying, Christina? By the way, thank you for such sweet comments. You're a dear.
Yes
And
to the question, and it is all true. I hadn't even intended to say that until you started sharing your story earlier on, and it really just, spoke to me.
okay, so what to say to law students to inspire them to give back to the profession as bar leaders? I think for them to understand the gravity and the importance of the role of bar associations in the profession, which is going, I mean, the profession is what's going to butter their bread. They are going, it's what they're going to put in the bank to save for retirement, what they're going to put in the bank to send their kids to college. This is going to be their way to make it in the world financially and, through their goals. And without strong bar associations and bar association leadership, their ability to do that successfully is going to be diminished. And we don't have time in this podcast to go into all the reasons why I believe in bar associations and the importance of what the work that they do. But I think it's the spine, it's the backbone of their very existence. So figure out what they do, like look into different bar associations and which ones speak to them and why. There's so many choices out there. Find one and start there and then work from there.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. And again, Christina, you're so kind. The profession is what you make it, right? Like that kind of thought process. And so why would a new lawyer not want to get involved in shaping the profession at whatever level they want to get involved at, whatever speaks to them. I've always had that viewpoint when it came to working at a law firm, wanting to make a difference by having my voice heard, wanting to be on a bar association and being in leadership to make my voice heard, not wanting to have decisions made from above and handed down to me without my input. I think Lori's kind of talked about that too today. So that would be a reason to get involved. And then there's just the practical reality of being a lawyer and getting business or everything that you get out of referrals and relationships. So here it's just like it's such a win-win to give back to the profession, add to the profession, but in the, while you're doing that, because you want to and you're passionate about it and you want to make a difference, but also while you're doing that, you're meeting a lot of lawyers. And those lawyers who, want to refer or want a mediator in Ann Arbor for mediation are going to call Lori because they know about Lori. And so you want to be known in the profession, and that just comes with being active in the bar association. So I think there are, there's those two benefits to the profession, but also to your career.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful advice. I know, Christina, you do a great job of getting your law students to come to things and get involved early. So I know we always appreciate all the work that you do. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I can't
Suzanne?
figure out how to raise my virtual hand. I'm sorry. I'm missing
No, you're
something.
fine.
So I kind of want to reiterate what Christina was saying and the encouragement that I've received from bar leaders, both Jennifer and Lori, even Lisa, just the encouragement I've received. And I guess that has really played a huge role in the decisions I've made and becoming involved in the way that I have. The one question that I have, because I'm in the Upper Peninsula, and things are a little bit different here in that we don't have active bar associations. Some counties, I'm not sure, actually have bar associations. And we're so far away from the metropolitan areas where the lawyers really are concentrated. Do either of you have any advice for lawyers that maybe are in rural areas or areas where there's not a lot of lawyers, there's not a lot of active engagement in the bar association for how people could get involved in those types of areas?
I think the best part of Zoom is that we can have interaction with lawyers all over the state. You know, that I think there are so many committees and bar associations where meetings take place on Zoom, and we all talk about not wanting to be on Zoom all day, but it does allow you to connect remotely with other lawyers. So I think that that provides them an opportunity that they should still get involved because their different perspective is really important and needed, but they can do that remotely. And maybe once a year, they're able to travel down, like I know you do sometimes for meetings, but Zoom, I think really I would encourage them to utilize all of the committees that I'm on right now, meet by Zoom. Every one of them. There's not a single committee that I am on that we meet in person.
Yeah. Well, and this is kind of a random thought, but if somebody who lives in the Upper Peninsula has friends or relatives in a downstate county, Wayne County, Oakland County, something like that, I mean, nobody in Wayne County or Oakland County is going to prevent them from joining their bar associations, right? And they can, tie maybe visits with family members to live events. And then, bam, every time somebody from Oakland or Wayne County, whatever county needs a lawyer in the UP, they're thinking of that person, that woman that they met at the holiday party for the OCBA that's from the UP, and kind of a random idea, but
That makes sense. Yes, I think being involved, attending the meetings on Zoom, but if then they're able to attend something in person, you're doing the exact same thing as everybody else is doing, really.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being here today. I think I'm taking away a lot of important points, and it was great to have you here on our program today. We really appreciate your time. Like we said at the beginning, this will be a podcast episode, so hopefully others can listen and learn from you as well. And we really appreciate your time. So thank you for being here, and thank you for everyone else for being here as well.
thanks for
Yes,
having
thank you
us.
Yeah,
so
it was
Thank
much.
fun.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
It was great.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.